flash interview, basically what it is it's 10 quick questions. Keep the answers under 10 to 15 seconds each. Some of them will be one-word answers, but it just gives a baseline for the viewers to kind of get an idea of where you come from, and hopefully things that help them hook in and identify a little bit.
Okay, let's do this.
Question number, oh, you can't say that on my channel. Oh no, you don't know about hashtag let's do this.
Sorry.
Hi, Josh Feuerstein here. Let's do this.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yep, that's where that comes from. And so there's one guy in my comments who's always trying to get hashtag let's do this because I make fun of let's do this from Josh Feuerstein all the time. All right, that's the flash interview. Question number 1. What part of the country do you live in now?
I live in San Antonio, Texas, in the heart of the United States.
Beautiful. A very low heart. You would have a very bad congenital heart disease if that was. Anyway, question number 2. What part of the country were you raised in?
I was raised in Chicago, Illinois, really technically the south suburbs, predominantly Italian neighborhood, very Catholic.
I have not been able to place your accent, and you've now told me where it would all come from. Still can't. All right. So you just kind of answered number 3, which is, were you born into a religious home? And if so, what was the religion that was practiced? Which you said Catholic. Very Catholic. How big of a family do you come from? Let's see how Catholic you were.
Well, let's see. On my mom's side, she had 7 brothers and sisters.
Okay.
My dad's side had a smaller family.
How about
my
yourself,
family, I'm the oldest of 4.
Okay.
So not too many kiddos, but yeah, it was
Your family was smarter than my family. My
moderately sized family.
I have 12 siblings. Half are adopted.
Dang. Oh, half are adopted. How nice.
Yeah. Meh. It's too many. They have too many kids. All right.
Complicated.
We have this like family loyalty rule that I haven't been able to deprogram from, but it's like the most important thing. And it's because my dad's a New Yorker. It's basically mob loyalty, but whatever.
Oh, wow.
So every time I feel like I'm saying something that might come off a little bit mean, I always feel that twinge of guilt. Anyway, sorry, this was meant to be a flash interview and I'm ruining it. How seriously did your family take the religion? You also kind of answered that, but go ahead.
They took it pretty seriously. We would go to church every Sunday. I often pretended to be sick because I just hated going. I never really believed it. I was always skeptical, but no, it was big. We went to all the masses, all the church sessions and all this stuff, prayed to the saints, Ash Wednesday, you name it.
So you had on your forehead plenty of times. All right.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it's so, all right. We'll talk about that in a minute. So were you the first member of your immediate family? So siblings, parents, anybody else who's close, if you were really close with your cousins, first member of your immediate family to leave the religion?
I think I was. So I mentioned how many siblings my mom had. So I think I have 50 or 60 cousins. As far as I know, I was the first one to sort of be out as an atheist and embrace it and not be ashamed about it.
So but yeah, the bigger question being, were you basically the leader out, or did you have sibling influencer? So it sounds like you're like me.
Out.
Yeah.
At a young age, I didn't believe it. So I was just pretending I was going along with it. And I think a few people knew, like, maybe they just observed that I was not taking it seriously or what.
Sure.
But yeah.
My dad, we'll talk about that again in a minute too. The whole thing is we'll get through them. And then I was about to launch on another tangent. This is why these things end up 3 hours. This one won't, I promise. When you left your religion, did you transition through other religions, or did you go straight from Catholicism to atheism?
I went straight from Catholicism to atheism, I guess. Although I didn't really identify as with that label. I just went agnostic because I didn't really understand the terms. But once I did, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm an atheist. And so, yeah, there were no intermediate steps. I didn't dabble with paganism or ghost spiritual or God is love or anything like that.
I just would love to hear you in your voice just go, I'm just spiritual, you know? Anyway,
God is love. And it's really, if it's true to you and you know, it makes you a better person, then God is there for you. And it's really just love. And I'm going to release only that clip out of context, totally take away all no, I'm kidding. Your credibility is gone. It's okay. Today. It's okay. So you can answer this in one of 2 ways or both ways, because some people don't want people to do the math on age. So either answer how old you were or how long ago from now it was that you became an atheist, or you can just do both. It's up to you. I was probably around 7 when I told my parents that I thought God was made up, like Santa. Okay. And they were horrified. And then they seemed really serious about it, and I thought, oh wow, the parents aren't playing around. Like, this isn't made up like Santa. I guess God is real.
Right.
But I didn't believe it. I was always skeptical.
So how long ago was it that you at least became like your community's friendly neighborhood atheist? Not
Oh,
necessarily,
okay.
but when people knew and you were out and now you were actually able to go down the atheist rabbit holes, if you will, and such.
Sure.
Mhm.
Probably around 2011, 2012, when I
Okay.
started watching shows like The Atheist Experience and listening to Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins and
Wow.
arguing with my family and doing all the counter apologetics
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
fighting on Facebook and people unfriending me and all that other stuff, all that drama.
Right.
So yeah, I would say probably around 2011, 2012, and then I discovered Bogosian's book, I think around 2012. And then late 2012 started going out and recording talks and learning this method, and then things that's kind of, I think, of course, putting out the videos, you get noticed and you're doing something a little bit different and
Yeah.
a little controversial,
Right.
like we talked about with Caleb, like, why aren't you arguing with him? Why aren't you, it took people aback. It was at the time, it was different. People
Right.
weren't seeing examples of it. They didn't know what was really going on.
And in a way, I almost regret that I didn't start a lot earlier, because now I feel like what a lot of my subscribers are and a lot of the people coming to my channel are people just looking to add something else to their echo chamber. And I think a few years back, if you started, you could really get your videos in front of people who disagreed or were theists, and that's harder, which is why I want to now do this conversations with theists bit a little more often and
Oh, cool.
see if that helps bring people over, especially if I can convince those people that they should share them out on their social media.
Mm-hmm.
So then, who is your favorite atheist author, communicator, or educator? It could be any of those.
My favorite.
I'm doing what you're doing to the other people, making you think about questions you don't think about.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Mine's always the same answer, but I won't sully yours with mine. I'll wait till yours.
This might seem like I'm kissing ass or something, but I have to say I love what Matt Dillahunty is putting out.
No, yeah, no,
He's
no doubt.
he's freaking phenomenal.
So,
And as he says so many times, he's right. He's good at taking difficult concepts and boiling them down for the everyday person to grasp.
yeah.
And he does it so well. So, Matt, it's you, buddy.
Yeah. Hopefully he watches. We'll see.
Probably with a little dash of Seth Andrews, I have to say.
Seth
He's
Andrews, his voice as well as the way he articulates is all so great for me.
Yeah.
For me, I've always said Mormons are who made me quit Mormonism. Once I quit Mormonism, Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens got me to atheism. But once I got to atheism and anti-theism became important to me because of Matt Dillahunty. He made it a passion. Now I'm a member of the ACA and doing this show, obviously. Like, he made it important for me to want to become a communicator as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And so, but Christopher Hitchens, if I have to give one, Christopher Hitchens, first of all, the man made the English language his bitch. It was, that guy can make anything sound so profound and so perfect. So I also have a love for language, but obviously not as good as his. And his use of language, I don't know of anyone who did better. In fact, even though I disagree with him so much, sometimes I'll listen to his brother Peter talk about stuff just to get that little bit back from him. Granted, he was very provocative and would say things in ways that probably wouldn't fly as well today. But at the same point, you'd almost want to see what would happen with today. But he's dead, so we can't. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, the Atheist Experience show, produced by the ACA, blew me away. And I mean, you ask my family, every Sunday I'm watching that show. Almost every Sunday I have it on, or I catch it the next day. So I was watching it and watching little clips, and my family was like, "What's going on? He's really watching this stuff a lot." It really sucked me in, and it helped me. It definitely helped me.
It's such
come to grips with my own atheism and adopting the label and being comfortable by saying I'm an atheist. I'm not ashamed about that.
And Tracy right behind Matt. I mean, not even behind Tracy now. I think Matt was who attracted me to the show at first, but now I'm as excited for a Tracy episode as a Matt episode. and it's such an important show. I hope more people will check it out. And I feel like I can easily plug that because this is an ACA show too.
Right.
Talk Heathen's cool, and it's a similar format, but a different approach and recurring hosts obviously too. But it's a great time to become an atheist. I was becoming an atheist right around the same time. You said 2011, 2012, yeah? Becoming a more outspoken right around the same time. And it was harder back then. And I'm not trying to like get street cred for it or anything, but yeah, it is a much
It was harder to come out?
Oh yeah. Especially I felt I had to hide it for a long time because of being in such a religious family and with such a religious community, and it was tied into all of my life, my work life, my social life. And luckily I had been creating these other relationships and stuff on the side so that when that all happened, it wasn't as though I had nowhere to go, but it was an intimidating prospect. And it still felt like if you said you were an atheist in a room, everybody kind of looked at you like you said, that Lyndon Johnson shot JFK, or just one of those stupid conspiracies that are out there that you're basically, and I remember being a child and thinking that of atheists too. There was a girl on my bus who was like, I don't believe in God. And I was like, oh yeah, 6 billion people are wrong and you're right. And I was like,
great argument.
Such cringy, gross things. Argument from popularity. Is that what that one's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not only a good time to come out as an atheist because there are so many people who are out, and there are these great communities, but I think it's also a good time to create content.
Oh yeah.
Put a podcast together, do something like what you're doing by interviewing people, or start learning street epistemology and go to a library or do something different, or put your own little twist on it. People are watching these videos, and there are people who are finding them extremely helpful in improving their conversations as well as their journey out of those beliefs.
And if you're not as interested in doing videos and being on camera, meetup.com is a really great one. That there needs to be a lot more secular and atheist specific social gatherings and such. And so
yeah, for me, the whole face-to-face, I need a community, I need to go to church, the Sunday assembly. Yeah, I went to those a couple times. I didn't need it. I get more than enough of that on social media and electronically, but I'm not knocking it. There are people who they don't like the social media part of it, and they want to go see people face to face and have a beer, have dinner.
I actually feel the same way as you do. The exception I'll say is a couple times a year we'll drop back into, there's a secular book club that meets through meetup.com, and they'll pick something and then they discuss it. And you never have to really worry about like, we did one that was a book on these people that escaped North Korea, and you don't have to worry about somebody bringing in Jesus and blessings and how blessed they are. No, blessing would be being born not in North Korea, or North Korea not being allowed to happen because anyway. So
do we still have more of those hot ones, or what'd you call them? The 10 questions?
No. The flash interview is done.
Flash interviews.
Oh wait. Actually, I think I have one left. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
10.
I don't know if we went through those or not.
My mistake. Sorry for how long this flash interview went on, but hopefully it was enjoyable. If you could have dinner with any individual, present or in history, who would you have dinner with?
Ooh, Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. Especially to tell him what we now know about science and see if that more deistic outlook came all the way down to atheists.
Or I would want to like, hey, what was going on with the founding fathers? Can you clarify a few things? Because there seems to be some confusion about this document that you put together.
Yeah.
What was going through your minds there? Can you clarify a few things? What do you mean by well-regulated? Can we go over that?
Yeah. What was the Family Guy joke? Everyone has a right to hang a pair of bear arms over their mantle. What is confusing about that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd probably, if we were to go atheist, I would. Yeah, you probably have to say Hitch.
Oh yeah, that's me for sure. Yeah.
I was just coming onto the atheist scene, maybe 6 months or a year after he passed away. There was a big convention, I want to say it was in Houston, organized by a guy I know here in San Antonio, who it was the last convention that Christopher Hitchens went to. So I missed it.
Oh man.
If I just got a little bit more involved sooner, I probably would have been able to meet him.
So now that we're off the flash interview and going into conversations, which we were already doing, but I want to start with something that will be like an extra hooky for the audience. So I'd like to recall a conversation you had during the street epistemology out on the roads with somebody. The claims were particularly extraordinary, beyond extraordinary. Their claimed epistemology was beyond extraordinary, and just something that sticks out as really out there. If you have an example.
Okay, so I've said this one recently in an interview, so I'll mention it quickly because it really was the weirdest one, but then I'll talk about something that just happened 2 days ago.
Sure.
So 2 years ago, a guy said he was 100% sure that God was real because his recently deceased dog appeared to him in a dream and told him all about heaven. So the conversation that he had with his dog was validation that heaven was real. So that's probably the weirdest one.
What was,
and then
real quick before you move on from that, I'm sure you then asked him the question, just based on what you've asked before, how did you determine that was a religious experience or instead of just actually being a dream about someone you missed or whatever? Did you ask that question? What was his reasoning that he was sure that it wasn't
That's a great question.
A dream?
Okay, so this was a while ago, so I was just kind of learning this approach. I probably, I hope I didn't get too wrapped up into talking about possible explanations, or did you eat something funny, or and explore the epistemology there. I probably did. It's been a while since I've watched that video.
Okay, no problem.
There was one 2 days ago that was kind of interesting. A guy. So when I meet people, I let them pick the belief, and in this case, he thought a God was real, and I try to get a sense of how sure they are, 0 to 100.
Right.
He placed himself at a 25. He was 25% sure this God was real. The main reason why he wasn't down at a 2 is because he was at a friend's house and he was watching a leg lengthening video. And when I asked him, well, how did you determine that the God had anything to do with that? He said, well, because they were praying in the video. So, so it's interesting. But 5 questions later, he was showing signs of cognitive dissonance. He was saying, I want to say yes and I want to say no at the same time.
Right.
He actually says that in the video. So that was probably one of the more recent ones where it was a little unusual. Like, really, just watching one video, you found it so compelling to actually think that this is true. So just a nice friendly discussion about, is that reliable? What if they were praying to a different God? If they happen to be sacrificing a chicken and taking the ashes of the burnt chicken and rubbing it on the woman's legs, would you find that compelling? No, I wouldn't. Well, how is that any different than prayer? Well, that's a great question. So these types of Socratic dialogue questions tend to help people reflect on these beliefs and show signs of wonder, show signs of aporia, show signs of doubt. And you can leave them with that pebble, and hopefully they figure out a way to address it or lower their confidence in the belief.
Right. Yeah. Do you mind? I want to share one with you because it's, as you were talking about it, it stuck out. Actually, as you were talking about the dog dream, that was the one that, I don't know why it was relevant, but I had done my What's Wrong with Mormonism, the first video, and this guy was talking about how there's nothing that can prove Mormonism isn't true, that nothing can prove the Book of Mormon isn't true, that there's no good evidence, and that everything points to being true. And I pointed out, at that point, I was pointing out the flaws in that, not the epistemology, but the flaws in the things he was claiming. And then I asked him for his proof that the church was true. And his response was, so something you have to know about Mormons ahead of time is that they believe in a pre-existence and that things happened before we were born, where there was this war in heaven and we pick sides and things like that. And he was saying, well, in the pre-existence, we picked sides, and if you weren't like as firmly with God, you might be punished here on earth for it with more adversity, which is not actually doctrine from the church, but it's so adjacent that I get why he thinks it is. And he said he talked about this grocery store job he had, and he said there was this smear campaign that was ran against him, and then this guy comes down from corporate to tell lies about him, which ultimately got him fired, because in the pre-existence, he must not have been faithful enough. And so what other explanation do I have for him being fired, if not?
Wow, what a stretch.
I know. That was, and I actually, so at the end, once that came out, and I didn't want to say, hey, you are mentally ill or something that's so offensive, but what I said was, hey, So this conversation has taken a turn I didn't expect it to take. I don't want to engage in this anymore. I do want to recommend that you keep searching, you keep looking, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but I think it would be very helpful if you found a counselor or some sort of therapist to talk through these things with. Because I immediately became very uncomfortable because I don't feel good about whenever there's a mental bridge that can't be crossed for another person, I don't feel comfortable trying to push them along. And there were other people who after me were like, no, this is stupid, you're an idiot. And I started deleting their combative comments, and I was like,
wow. That was nice of you.
No, yeah, I just...
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, you really don't know who you're going to be running into, and sometimes it becomes evident that they would be harmed if they abandon this belief, or they would harm other people, and they mean it. They're not just saying that so that you stop questioning them, but they really mean it.
Right.
And in those situations, I just back off. There was one time I was talking with a woman. I think her name is Delmy, and she believes in karma because she thought that she was being punished for something that she did 10 years ago because all these bad things were happening to her. So it had to have been because of this thing.
Right.
But as we were talking, she started saying that, Anthony, this is a belief that is probably not true, but I keep thinking that it is. Can you help me get rid of it? I was blown. That was the first time I think I've ever had somebody say, this is a belief I don't want. Help me get rid of it. And what can we do about it? And you mentioned
the dream, you know?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, and actually that video gets a lot of views. And I think it's because the conversation partner was on board with me that this was a harmful belief and probably not true, and they wanted to get rid of it. Whereas most of the people I talk to, they haven't reached that point yet. They think that it's true. They think it's beneficial, and they want to hold on to that thing, for dear life. Yeah. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
But
I'm gonna have to watch that because I want to see what you're.
Kicking myself that I didn't direct her. I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't direct her to therapy or seeking a counselor, because she probably could benefit from it. I hope to run into her again.
I think I've discovered recently that the word counselor means the same thing most of the time. They're a lot less. Therapist now has a charge to it that it's like I'm saying you have a mental illness you need to go see. Really? Personally, I don't know if I'd say I think it should be compulsory or mandatory, but everybody needs to go to therapy at some point. I think it's very beneficial for everyone. Hello, and thank you for watching that clip. If you'd like to see another one like it, you can check that out here. Or if you'd like to see another video, check that out here. Please take a moment to subscribe and share this with a friend if you liked it. Also, consider becoming a member of the Atheist Community of Austin. It's a nonprofit which promotes positive atheism as well as the separation of religion and government. Thanks again for watching, and remember, stay skeptical, my friends.